So I'm putting a fusible link onto my connection here. So in order to do that, we need to connect this hot cable that goes to the starter with a where did I put it? Here it is. With a lug. So we're going to cut this. In order to do that, we're going to have to cut this cable right here. Or try to. These cutters have seen better days. I might just have to gnaw it off. I don't know. Bingo. There we go. So we see it got clean cuts. Either don't look great. So anyway, so we got a clean cable now. We got to figure out how long we need for our lug. All right there. So maybe these will do a better job of this. Just being able to get the casing off. At least marking it. So we'll see how well that works. As I said, folks, this is me with my new tripod my daughter got me, which is very, very slick. So now I'm trying to make this work, see how this goes. So again, we've got went to Napa and got a different lug. It's flared, which seems to work better with copper. So I'm going to try to get this on here so we can crimp it. But before we did, I also put a piece of shrink wrap, because once we get this lug on here, then we'll shrink wrap it to seal it up good. So let's see if we can get this. There we go. Try to get it, see where it's going to be up here, and position it so it's going to be, because it's hitting to get hooked to these. This goes on the battery post, and this is a fusible link that we're going to use to protect our electrical system. So this is going to go right here, and of course this is going to go right there. So anyway, so I went to set it so the orientation is right as we can make it. So we get it pushed on there as far as we can. We get out our fancy Panduit crimper, put 2 crimps on it. So here we go. Get it on here, and I'll do another crimp. That should hold. Yep. See that coming off, that's for sure. So these crimping tools, nice. It's a Panduit, it's a really nice one. So it's nice when they've got that stuff at work. Okay, I'm back with my torch. So of course, like they always say, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. So this is way overkill, but it's what I got handy, so it's what I use. There we go. We got a nice wrap there. Of course, it's going to be a little warm for a few minutes, but so now we can turn our attention to getting on the fusible link post. So, hi all, this is Two Malls again, the Two Malls Broadcasting Network, I guess you'd say. So anyway, today is like part 1 of the wiring process. We're going through. Been working on this. It's going to take a while because we've been waiting for parts and that sort of thing, but it kind of gives you an idea of what we've done here. We've got our 12-volt battery. It's moving to 12 volt. A negative ground, which is the original had a positive ground. We've got negative ground here. I'm going to be putting on a kill switch between these two, and it's of course anchored to the bell housing or the gas tank mount to the bell housing. On the positive side, we have this cable runs to the alternator. The 4-gauge cable runs to the alternator. I put 150 amp fusible link in it. This one is a fusible link as well, 150 amp, that actually runs to the starter switch, which then goes to the starter switch. Oh, there it is, hidden. And then that runs to the new starter down there. So anyway, that's the basic setup. We also have another hot wire that comes from the starter switch, and this will be a hot wire that we will connect all the we'll actually do a junction box, and we'll connect to the other things, the lights and that sort of thing we have on there is pretty minimal. So here's our kill switch mounted to the bracket that we made. See, it's just I put grade 8 bolts through it, hook it up here, and it's going to go right down here and mount up like this. So I will do that next, and we'll have that actually solid in there. So that'll be nice. I have the cap. See, the cap's still here, so we'll have that. So I will bolt that in, and we'll move to the next thing. So here's our kill switch all mounted. So you just got a bolt through the frame rail. Pretty simple design with these things. I'm sure you've all seen them, got a billion of them. So power runs through it, power comes off, so you got a place to take the key away and run away. It's also got this spiffy little cap too, so that when the key's gone, you can cover it up so it doesn't get any rain. So always a good thing. So anyway, so here we are. This is the kill switch finally mounted. So here we're gonna start some soldering. I got the strands cut it. I cut a little longer space here because that gives us more room to when we actually solder it in. There's more room for the solder. So what we're going to do here is put these two wires together, and as best as we can, we're going to twist the wires together like so to get the strands as close together as we can and mate them up well so that when we do our soldering, there's more contact wire to wire. So I would have shown you this earlier for something else, but I'd already done it, and I was just, hey, it looks like I'm doing the wiring here for the headlights, and it turned out that these two wires, which come from the far side around, and it looks like I cut them a little too short, so we need to add a little extension here. It goes to right here, but our box is going to be right here. We're going to put a box right up here. You can see or not. So let me move the camera a bit. So the box is going to go right here, so we need to cover that distance. So anyway, here we are back at our trusty 5-gallon bucket. So what we're going to do now is actually do the solder process. The gun's been warming up. I put a loop on my gun, so my soldering gun, so I can just hang it to dry, or hang it not to dry, but to cool off. So this provides a little bit of space here. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. Be a little bit over a little bit. There we go. Okay, so the soldering process pretty simple here. The important thing is to put the soldering gun behind, because what you want to do is I could touch this solder on the gun and boom, it melts. But I don't want to do that. I touch it on as you see here, I bought the soldering gun on the bottom side, and then put the solder on the top. Which then forces the solder to actually go through the wires so that the solder itself goes through both wires and has to go through both wires to actually make contact. Otherwise, we'd just basically be putting solder on one side of it. So as we see, you warm up the wire, as we see here, and then when the wire gets hot enough, it will melt the solder and pull it through the wire bundle, which here is just 8-gauge wire, so it's not much. But there you see, now the wire's gotten hot enough that I can pull it through, and the solder just melts right through, which gives a nice, good bond on there. So anyway, and of course you've noticed here, keep your soldering iron away from your 5-liter bucket or a 5-gallon bucket because it will melt. So anyway, we unplug our soldering iron and then I hang it up, like I say, with the loop here, so I got a place I can just hang and cool off. Anyway, so that's the soldering process. What I do now is shrink wrap. So after I've soldered the wires, then I fire up my heat gun, and one by one I use shrink wrap to shrink wrap all my connections to seal it. It is a tractor, it is going to be outside, so you never know when you're going to get caught by snow or whatnot, so that seems to be the best way to approach this. So we got one done. Just fold them with the wire here and bring my shrink wrap tubing up the line here. Make sure you get enough overlap so that you're actually going to cover the end of the wire. That's a important. For this one, you can see I'm not exactly got it completely at this end right here. There's a little gap, but that's okay because I'm actually going to put another bigger gauge shrink wrap over top of this too to keep the whole. This will keep these 3 wires all kind of together as a set, which will then give them more. It'll give the whole. Not really a little weak to say a wiring harness, but it'll actually give these wires more strength, more integrity as far as just the wire goes. So there we go. So we got 3 wires, little toasty to the touch still. And so then what I will do now next is get a piece of shrink wrap here, the heavier gauge, not heavier gauge, but just larger, so I can run it over the top of the whole set of wires. Because if I've been smart, I'd have done this from the get-go, but of course I didn't. So now I got to feed them one at a time and get them through here. So here we got the yellow one. The red one. Looks like the red's going to be next here. And the black is pretty close. So we'll just feed them both the same. So once you get them down here, obviously the yellow one is the longest one of these wires. So you know. And let's do some red too, so we get all about the same. Do a little more black to get them equal. And of course, always more yellow, always more yellow. And there we go. Once we get it down here, then it'll kind of find equilibrium with it once we get it close. As you can see, then we bring it over the top of the whole set of them. You got to make your push it a little bit. Watch on the casing here on the at the end of the wire that actually comes from the light. And so then now we'll do this and do this same thing using our handy 5-gallon bucket as a working surface. Tripods are great, but they only work well if you don't kick them over. That's kind of an important component of this whole operation, I guess. So. I started doing the shrink wrap using a propane torch. Yeah, you can imagine how that went. So when I went to a lighter, yeah, that didn't really get any better. So then we finally got to the, like, remembered in the basement that there was an actual light for a heat gun that we had from, I don't know what project, some house project, you know, where you got a heat, taking off wallpaper or whatever. So anyway, so here it is, fancy dancy. It actually works really slick. So cranks out serious heat, adjustable, high and low temperature. It's quite the machine. So, and it's like 35 years old, so still does great. Cools off before I shut her down. Let the impeller spin in and let her cool down, and there we go. Silence. So anyway, this is what we do on all. I'm going to do on all the wires, and also the connectors. So hello. So when we do the wires, I got the wires set up, and then I run it through this wire loom. I like the stuff we've got with this. It's going through frame rails, and I'll show you when I take it off the tripod what we've done. But I like to use this stuff just because it protects the wiring. So it's pretty simple stuff to put on. You just kind of, it's split, as you can see an end of it here. So it's split, and so you just kind of wind, kind of tuck it in here, and then it closes around behind it. So it works pretty slick. You can see what I'm doing here, just kind of plugging it in there. It's a little tough on your fingers if you're going to do a mile or two of this, but for short runs like this, it's not this bad. It's not bad. So when you get it in there, that nice, does a nice job, protects it from frame rails. You can see from frame rails here, that sort of thing. Anyway, so we use this. This is actually 1/2 inch. Here's what the stuff is. This is the 3/8 inch we used on smaller wires, but you get what it is. It's split poly loom. So anyway, that's another step in the process. And then, so here we are with the what I use with the. So I use a fender washer, which is about the right. It's the right size to zip tie go through, but it won't pull through. So what I do is use this through the hole here. There's this of course, as you can see, is behind and goes through. And so what I do is I go back here and wrap it around to grab it, and then feed the other end back out the hole and then through the washer. You have to go through the washer. Then you go back so you make sure you got it where you want it as far as positioning, and then down through here it allows you to fasten the inside that loom here, and then it's fastened in here, go right through there, and boom, this one's kind of loose but it's fast, so it fastens it tight enough to hold it there for temporary, and then I just snip that off with a pair of snippers, and then we call it good. And then we got our loom, and our loom is good and secure enough for this temporary positioning.